This is the Evidence Locker, where we explore the horror genre, movies, books, and experiences with Mark Burton, author of Aroughcoune and Dixmont State Hospital.
So, as you were saying.
Yeah, it's the working title is Ghost Mother, and it is about this old shaman who is trapped in this stone of his own creation, and he's fighting to get out. While he's in there, he has access to all of time. And he's collecting souls to get his escape. It starts with some random deaths around Pittsburgh. And then Bill catches on to it. He catches wind of it. He's down at the university, and he has a podcast and a blog, and he's very successful with that, studying on, reporting on unsolved mysteries and things like that. And because of the nature of this stone, he brings Mingan back into the mix for his advice and counsel. And then they decide how to deal with this. Probably a quarter of the way through it right now.
Okay.
I anticipate if things go well this year, I should have something to Roswell publications probably by middle to late next year. So.
And from what you said of your process, you don't know how the story is going to end yet, do you?
I don't. I mean, I know the good guys win. So, I mean, that's kind of built into my personality. There might be some kind of twist where the bad guy isn't completely vanquished. I can see something like that happening. But I just decided this week that the bad guy needs a henchman. He needs some kind of Renfield to assist him. So I got a lot of work to do.
When you come up with things like, oh, the bad guy needs a henchman, does that mean that the henchman comes in at the part of the story you're like, do you only move forward, or do you go back and the henchman needs to come in 20 pages ago?
Yeah, I'll backfill. Like I said, it's not the most efficient style of writing, and it's like putting a jigsaw puzzle together. It's at times, because you realize you need this or that or the other thing, and you're like, oh wow, now I got to really tear open the stitching here and put this little piece of quilt in to make it fit. So yeah, he should have been introduced maybe 30, 40 pages ago, but I'll make it work.
Yeah. I don't think it sounds inefficient at all. I don't think efficiency is really a thing with creative writing.
Yeah, it's hard to outline stuff like this. I mean, I have a general idea of the arc in my head, but then you get to a point where you're like, I don't like this arc anymore, and so or this would be much more interesting if I took it in this direction, and so you do that, and now any plans you had at the beginning are now worthless, because that new twist or that new direction you go in is invariably going to lead you to something new that you didn't anticipate. So now you're just in unexplored territory, and I just take it where it leads me, and that's the process.
Yeah, the only thing I use outlining for is to figure out what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't follow outlines. I write an outline, get clear on my thoughts, maybe identify an area that I need to work on, oh, this doesn't make sense. I need to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't look at the outline again. The point of
Yeah.
an outline is to write the outline. I don't refer back to it.
Yeah. And, a lot of my early history and the stuff I've drifted into and out of, I mean, I got really into William Burroughs or in my college years, and his cut-ups, if you're familiar with that, where he, like Naked Lunch is probably the most famous example, but
I've heard of it.
Yeah, The Soft Machine, all these, basically he would just write a novel and cut it up and restitch it back together. So you have complete nonsensical passages, things that, and it really, if you go back even further than that in my history, in my love of the surrealists, and they would do automatic writing. They would do a parlor trick game called Exquisite Corpse, where somebody would start the story and then they would fold the paper up so you couldn't see the start of the story, and then somebody else would start a new story that would continue on, and so on and so forth, and they'd pass it around, and you get this completely unrelated Mad Lib type story based on everybody's input, and it was some of it was just phenomenal writing. But you have people that think in a very linear fashion, and it's not something that they appreciate because they're used to, like a Tom Clancy type storyline where it's like this happens, this it's so sequential, and it has to be for all those dominoes to fall. But I'm pretty loose, so I appreciate other writers who are loose like that.
That suggests that your target readership also appreciates it. Do you have any way of reaching out to them? Targeting that audience?
I don't know. I'm fairly introverted, and this, I've done marketing in my profession. I've done newspaper writing. I mean, my name's been out there my whole career, but I don't do well promoting myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see myself as a commodity or a brand, and it's just hard. I don't have that. What's the word? I don't have that pride or that. That's not the word. That just that extroverted. This is me. By me, because of who I am type of personality. I just, I'm the kind of person that will take you on a walk and point out all the cool stuff and make it about what's out there in the world rather than about me. I'm the last person to think I'm worth talking about. And so that marketing the whole thing has been very difficult. So finding those people, who they are, hopefully they come in my direction somehow, maybe through what you're doing. But it's a challenge.
I think a lot of writers have that problem. Yeah. There ought to be clubs where writers can market each other.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I agree. And it's been so it's hard not to get cynical, because when I set up the Facebook page and the website and all the social media feeds and did all the ABCDs of what you should do to promote your book type stuff, you see that there's a lot of people out there that are looking to take advantage of you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I'll get you X amount of followers. Everything has a fee associated with it, and it's very it jades you, and you have a lot of people who don't have your background or my background in writing to know that these are scams. You have a lot of young kids that are just out there just trying to break into the business or tell a good story. Mm-hmm. And you have all these people just sort of like descending upon them and saying, give me your money and I'll promote your book, or give me your money or I'll do this. And there's that aspect of it, there's the whole finding an agent aspect of it, which is very elite and very that'll turn you off to writing too. Is I spent about 2.5 years, shopping this manuscript around, and I'm the first to admit it's whack. There's you have the story, and you try to give your little elevator pitch to somebody about it, and it sounds completely insane. Or it's like, dude, how high were you when you wrote this? And it's like, and but the reality is, when you go through a query with an agent, there's so many hoops they want you to go through, and there's such a level of gatekeeping there that it turns you off, and you wonder how anything ever gets published at all. And I've been a little bit vocal, on threads. I follow, we follow each other, but there's this agent, she's looking to give everybody little nuggets of wisdom. And I just, see something, I'm like, that's BS. I tell her, I say, look at these agents around you. They want X amount of people of color. They want one LGBTQ representation in person and character in the book. They want all these different things that are completely manufactured. That it's all well and good to have representation. I'm all in favor of that. But if the story you're writing doesn't check off, all these little hot topics at the moment, then you have no hope of getting through the door with them. And it's not a process that engenders creativity. It's a process that engenders commercialism and, making the money. And when you take art, I think the antithesis of art is capitalism. And I think when you try to commodify something like writing or painting or something like that, then you're just forcing the artists to dance your little dance so that you can get the most hits and the most sales and everything like that. And yeah, they deserve to make money on their work, but not sacrificing what their true intent of the story was.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of professional publishing is about turning away as many authors as possible, as quickly as possible, so they can get it down to a manageable number.
Yeah.
Which is, in some ways, legitimate. They can't handle everybody who wants to write, but yeah, it's frustrating. And I know what you mean about, checking off boxes. I mean, I want to see a lot of representation, but I don't want to see a book that has representation because somebody had to check off a box.
Right, it's artificial. Yeah. And
it's artificial,
at the end of
it's insulting.
Exactly. At the end of the day, if you want those voices out there, go straight to the authors. There's plenty of Native American authors. There's plenty of LGBTQ authors, Sell them, and let them do what they do. And, it's a very, like I said, it's a very trendy type market. Publishing as a whole is, I don't want to say in its dying phases, but it's circling the drain. And, I get what you're saying about, agents having to control the input that they're receiving. Amazon didn't do anybody any favors by letting everybody in the world self-publish. So, it's a very difficult time. I mean, newspapers, I saw the writing on the wall when I was in newspapers, and I was like, yep, I better jump ship because this job might not be here tomorrow. And so I went into communications and PR, and then I found the magazine publishing that I was doing for 14 years after that. But even that, I mean, it's just like they'd rather buy ads on YouTube than they would, spend that money in your magazine,
Yeah. Yeah. It has to change one way or the other. The way we do books and the way we do literature is not working at the moment.
No, and I don't know if everybody did this, but after World War One, when surrealism started to blossom, they made their own little books. They made their own little chapbooks. Francis Picabia had books that were tiny. I mean, I'm talking about 2 inches I have in my collection. They're just like little tiny books that they would self-publish and produce and circulate. And it's kind of like Mystery Science 3000 philosophy of, keep the tape circulating. It's like you record what you want in some media, and then you circulate it among your peer group, and the audience will gravitate to it. It'll grow over time. It'll snowball. But I haven't. I just started this snowball rolling, so it's got to get bigger soon.
Yeah. What I think it's gonna eventually turn into is an emphasis on spoken word performance art.
Yeah.
Where writers will make their money from giving talks and readings and licensing plays and little traveling plays and things like that, and they'll write the books to publicize their talks, not the other way around. I think that's where it's going to go. I think that's where it's going to have to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's that, or we all find wealthy patrons to that we can live off of, and they can fund our art. So.
Yeah, that model has been. It worked very well for a long time. Worked for Leonardo.
Yeah.
I just need a patron.
Yeah, me too.
Well, is there anything else that we should cover?
I think you did a great job. We covered it a lot. I know I talk fast, so I know we've covered a lot of ground, and I leave it in your hands.
All right.